Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to The Inner Voice, a program about life. You are tuned to 1422 medium wave. This is the new Pan-Hellenic voice, and I am Dr. Gabrielides. I'll be with you till 1 o'clock today. Today I'll be discussing a couple of things, starting off with a subject close to my heart, entitled Making Ordinary Moments Extraordinary. So stay tuned with us, my friends, while I greet my fellow Greek listeners, and I'll be with you in just a sec. Καλησπέρα σας, κυρίες και κύριοι. Είσαστε συντονισμένοι στα 1422 μεσαία κύματα της νέας Πανελλήνιας Φωνής με την εκπομπή μας Εσωτερική Φωνή. Μαζί σας ο Δ. Παναγιώτης Γαβριλίδης μέχρι τις 1 η ώρα. Μείνετε συντονισμένοι μαζί μας και εύχομαι να αναπαύσουμε λίγο σήμερα και να χαμογελάσουμε λίγο. Alright. Turning ordinary moments into extraordinary. What am I talking about? Well, let's begin. Many years ago, my third daughter Debbie, then aged 8, and I were driving home one day whilst I was still living in Houston, and it was the time when the troops were coming home from the first Gulf War. So we were driving through this neighborhood where we saw a huge oak tree that was covered with yellow ribbons all over. My daughter Debbie pointed at the tree and asked, "Daddy, why have they covered that tree with all those yellow ribbons?" Now, that's an ordinary enough question from a young mind that I could have answered matter-of-factly and left it at that. However, I decided to turn that ordinary moment into an extraordinary one. "Ah," I replied, "that is a very interesting question, and the answer is equally fascinating. Would you really like to know the whole story?" "Yes, Daddy, I would," she replied. So sweet, my third daughter. All my daughters are. I love them dearly. I then launched into a full explanation of the practice of tying yellow ribbons around old oak trees. I explained how it all originated from a popular song called "Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree." I explained how originally the song was about a man who had been in jail and was coming home. I then explained how he had written to his sweetheart to see whether she still wanted him in her life after he'd been to jail, and that if she did, she should, as a sign to him, tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree outside her house, and how that in that song, as he was coming home and he was on the bus, and he told everybody about it, the bus driver, everyone, so they were all in on the story now, and they all wanted to see whether there would be a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree. So as they came around the bend, the bus driver, everybody else in the bus, and the man himself saw not only one ribbon, but 100 yellow ribbons tied round the old oak tree. And of course everyone cheered in the bus, etc., etc., and so on goes the ditty, a very beautiful ditty, "Tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree." I then explained to my daughter how that song had really captured the heart of the whole English-speaking world, and how that people all over the world had began using the practice to welcome anyone home who'd been away from home, not just ex-convicts. By this time, of course, I could see the sparkle growing in my daughter's eyes, and I knew I had her full attention. I then explained that the song became very popular in the armed forces, in the military, and how that soldiers who had, say, 40 days left, a little bit of time left, generally 40 days, they would play the song every day, all day, to celebrate the countdown to going home. And how that I myself had taken part in the ritual when I was in the military as a young man. That in turn sparked quite a few questions about my life in the military from my daughter. And she also asked, well, did you have a sweetheart? Did you write to her? Did she tie yellow ribbon too around the old oak tree, etc., etc.? So by now I had really captured her imagination. Now, at about this time, we were driving past the mall where our favorite music store was. And I asked my daughter whether she would like to hear the song, to which she enthusiastically replied in the affirmative. Two of my daughters that I know of, actually three of them, I'm not sure now, is it two or three? Anyway, have the most beautiful soprano voices, and Debbie is one of them. So she was excited at the prospect. We walked into the store and started looking for the CD ourselves, to no avail. I could see disappointment creeping onto my daughter's face. So I found the store clerk and asked her if they had the CD. She then proceeded to spend the next half hour tracking it down, which she did. So here at last we could sit down, earplugs on, and listen to the beautiful ditty. The expression of delight on my daughter's face made it all very worthwhile. I enjoyed myself immensely, as she did. Moral of the story, see, we can add a lot to our lives if we just take the time to turn so-called ordinary moments into extraordinary. Because after all, are there really any ordinary moments in life? One can ask, what is ordinary about the gift of life? What is ordinary about the gift of sunshine? What is ordinary about the gift of rain? What is ordinary about the gift of children? What is so ordinary about the gift of a wife, a husband, a soulmate? What is ordinary about the gift of love? What is ordinary about the gift of friendship? What is ordinary about the gift of serving your fellow human beings through your chosen work? Or what is ordinary about the gift of sight, of hearing, of taste, of smell, of touch? The gift of a homemade meal made with love and served with joy and peace. The gift of feet, the ability to walk. You get the picture. Life is a very special gift that we can either take for granted or appreciate deeply. The choice is ours, isn't it, my friends? Yeah, the choice is indeed ours. I remember many years ago, I got up one morning and I felt kind of like a feather in a dust storm. If the wind blew me this way, it was fine. If it blew me that way, it was also all right. And if it did not blow me in any way at all, but just let me float straight down to the floor, that was also okay. I was in what you might call a what's it all about mood. I thought about the day ahead and I groaned. I had to teach my refugee class English for 2 hours in the morning, and then I had a speech on at the Toastmasters Club in the evening. What was I going to do in between? The day happened to be free. I did not know, and I did not really care in this blue mood that I was in. Blah, Maybe I should have worked on my speech. Instead, I opted to go to sleep, which actually leads me to my point. Yes, I do have a few points for telling you this. In fact, I have 3. See, about 18 years ago, I had my first midlife crisis at age 35. My health was ailing. I was a real nader in the game we call life. Or I was even asking myself whether it was all a cosmic joke and that was there really any purpose to it? I'm sure you've been there, my friends. Those of you who are 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, 70 plus, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I spoke to some of my friends about it, and I received all sorts of advice on how to deal with this. See, I'm kind of like that. I like to ask for advice. I enjoy hearing other people's point of view. Doesn't mean I'm going to do everything they suggest, but at least I like to hear what they have to say. Anyway, the best advice I got was from a friend who was actually halfway around the world. He actually wrote me and shared with me 3 coping mechanisms that we can use to help us cope in times of stress, in times of doubt like this. And these 3 mechanisms have helped me tremendously, and I've used them ever since. I'd like to share them with you this afternoon. The first one is rest, sleep, take a holiday or take a break, even if it's just 10 minutes. Okay, you decide the application, whether you need a 10-minute break or a rest or a sleep or even a holiday of a week long. You know what I'm getting at. If that's not good enough, we need to do something that really excites us, something different. My friend had certainly given me sage advice. See, so often we get so bogged down with a problem that it's an absolute must to just leave it and get away from it completely. By that I mean, of course, get away from the problem mentally, emotionally. Leave it. Stop wrestling and struggling with it. Go do something different, preferably something pleasant and refreshing, and then come back to the problem and look at it again. And then you'll see you will look at it with fresh eyes, with new eyes, like the eyes of a child. And in that eye of a child looking at it is creativity. And creativity is the key to solving all difficult and thorny problems. Time and time again, this method yields amazing and even miraculous results. You see, because our minds work best when fresh. Can't do much with a stale mind. If you have been wrestling with a problem for an inordinate amount of time, your mind gets bogged down and weary. It must rest and recuperate. Sometimes, though, my friends, this step is not enough. The so-called black dog of depression may continue to dog you. Now, the second coping mechanism that I'd like to share with you is this. When the first one is not enough, of taking a break of some kind. The second mechanism is to find some way to nourish our souls. We can nourish our souls, for example, by meditating, by reading a good book, by praying, by speaking to a good friend, communing with our fellows, listening to good music, getting out in nature, getting some sunshine. Very, very good for us. Works very, very well. Or anything of the sort, whatever works for you that falls under the umbrella of nourishing your soul emotionally. One time I was in Mauritius, which is an absolute tropical paradise, as most of you know, and yet I found myself wrestling with a huge bout of depression. I ended up in attempting to apply this principle. I ended up going to the beach at night. It was 9 o'clock plus at night with a good friend, and we shared a couple of delicious tropical juices, some nice hot coffee, and I still well remember how the moon was bathing, everything blue, the calm sea, the ocean smelled great, a slight breeze cooled us down, and what they call flying foxes, which are giant fruit bats, were flying overhead as we solved, quote unquote, the world's problems. We talked about anything and everything. In other words, we nourished our souls. We used that communion with each other as dear friends that we were to nourish our souls, to buttress one another, to encourage one another, to recharge worn out psychological and emotional batteries. I'm sure you've experienced it. If not, try it. You'll love it. frankly, I must tell you that I don't see how we can make it through life without employing this all important principle of nourishing our souls. I heartily recommend it. Long ago, I discovered an additional dimension to this particular coping mechanism of nourishing our souls. I'd like to share that with you as well. It is this. You see, most of us avoid our feelings like the plague. Our negative feelings, that is, isn't it? Our positive feelings we embrace. But we avoid our negative feelings. We like kind of sweep them under the carpet, and we want to pretend that they're not there. Now, why do we do that? Well, simple, really. We're scared to death of them, aren't we? We don't want to focus on our negative feelings. They don't make us feel good. And yet, my friends, we make a big mistake to avoid our feelings. They bottle up within us, only to explode at the most inopportune times. Worse than that, they immobilize us. So we need to face our feelings, our fears, our uncertainties, our nightmares, our negative relationships, etc. We need to face them square on. We need to really get in touch with them. Sometimes we need to let them descend upon us like some malignant shroud and face them. And I've found it over the years, I have found it very effective to even strike up a dialogue with my negative feelings. Something that may go like this. Welcome, old friends, I'll say to them. It's good to feel you again. What are you trying to tell me now? Clarify, please. My good feelings, I want you to know that I love and treasure you, of course, as my connection with my authentic self. My bad feelings, I consider you my caution to open my eyes and see what's ahead for me and deal with it wisely. There's a proverb in the Bible that says, a wise man foresees the evil and flees from it. So that kind of principle is exercised here, the principle of caution. And then I'm still talking to my feelings and my fears, and I say to my fears, look guys, do me a favor, go away. I don't need you. I have no use for you. All you guys have ever done for me is to make me miserable and to immobilize me, to paralyze me. So do me a favor, go away and stay away. Now the same goes for our negative relationships. I'll talk to them too. I'll say, look, dear negative relationships, I am no good for you and you're no good for me. So do us both a favor, go away and find someone who can love you and get along with you, because I certainly cannot. A little humorous here, but an effective way to deal with these negative feelings and fears, etc., is to strike up a dialogue with them, because we all have them. We all have them. And it's a good practical way to deal with them, to begin to deal with them at least. Next, we need to discuss them with ourselves, and that way deal with them. Hey, sometimes you need to weep like a baby if need be, and let them go. But letting them go we must. Far, far away. As far away as possible. They will return. They will return. That's what feelings do. And we as humans, that's what we do too. That's the nature of the beast. Our emotions and our negative feelings are, in a sense, like the tides of the sea. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. So depending on the tides and the seasons, they will return. But their visits will become less and less paralyzing as time goes by, as we mature, as we learn to love ourselves, to love our fellow human beings, to focus on the good and the beautiful and the soft, as opposed to the greedy and the ugly and the impatient and the macho and the yang, the warlike, etc. Okay? We need to focus on the opposite of all that. The beauty, the surrender, the softness. So each time these negative feelings return, we deal with them. We consider the worst case scenario and laugh in its face and blow it away from us. I've often coached many people in this with excellent results. This worst case scenario is a great therapeutic technique. I'll say to people, look, consider the worst thing that can happen to you, and accept that. For example, you're homeless on the street and you have Ebola. Can't get much worse than that, can it? But you need to accept the worst case scenario and then say to yourself, well, look, I have dealt with my life so long, with everything it threw at me. Somehow, as I get in touch with the God force within me, with the divine intelligence, with the creative intelligence, with the force that sustains everything from the lowliest insect to the most complex human brain, somehow the creative intelligence will reveal to me how to deal with this as well. See, the reason is this. The reason this works is this. Doing something like I'm inviting you to do here, that introduces badly needed levity in the situation. That's why it works. It introduces badly needed levity, a bit of humor, a bit of laughter in the situation. And levity almost always diffuses problems. We all take ourselves far too seriously. Far too seriously. Now also, by stepping back mentally and talking to our feelings in this manner, or any other manner, you figure out a way that works best for you, new and fresh perspectives and insights flow into our minds, generating new and fresh solutions. I very seldom quote Woody Allen, my friends, but I know he's absolutely right when he says that 80% of success is just showing up in life. Just show up for life. Often you think, but how am I going to do this? How am I going to overcome this problem? How am I going to deal with that situation? I just don't see it. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now let me tell you something. I very seldom quote Woody Allen, but in this instance he's right. Just show up. 80% of success is just showing up. Show up for life and trust that the details will take care of themselves. Trust that the force that causes the sun to rise in the morning and set at sunset and takes care of everything in between, the force that so guides the celestial clock that even the atomic clocks in London and here in Greenwich and wherever they have them, that miss a second every so many years, the cosmic clock up there in the heavens, the heavenly bodies, the way they move, they never miss a second. So every so many years, I forget how many, 3 or 4, these atomic clocks even, which are perfect, so to speak, even they lose a second or so, a part of a second every so often, and they have to be adjusted according to the heavenly clock in space, the way according to the way the heavenly bodies move. Now there's a creative intelligence back of all that. So you got to show up for life and trust that that creative intelligence will show you how to take care of the details. You have to, in a sense, detach yourself from the outcome. Go with the stream and flow of things, and thus live your destiny. Now, this principle of detachment is paramount. If we're not willing to walk away from anything, we've had it. will push whatever it is further away from us. So whatever you do, don't cut yourself off from activity, from humanity. Keep active and live with your fellows and watch the magic unfold. In a sense, we have to soil our hands with life. You can't say, oh no, I can't touch that. No, you have to get in there. Soil your hands with life. Get involved. Reach out and touch your fellows. Touch humanity. It's our heritage. Claim it. Seek it. Do not forsake it, my friends. Okay, we're halfway. Stay with us here on 1422 medium wave of the new Pan-Hellenic Voice. We're going to go to a brief commercial break, and we'll be right back with the inner voice. This is Dr. Gabrielides. I'll be with you till 1 o'clock. I'll give you my number in a minute, and again at the end. I do consult as a natural medicine practitioner. If any of you do wish to consult me with whatever ails you, with your conditions, or just to stay healthy and keep illness at bay, you can contact me on this number, 076 189 6690. I repeat, 076 189 6690. Stay with us, my friends. Θα πάμε τώρα, κυρίες και κύριοι, στο συνηθισμένο μας διαφημιστικό διάλειμμα και θα είμαστε και πάλι μαζί σε λίγα λεπτά εδώ στα 1422 μεσαία κύματα της νέας Πανελλήνιας Φωνής. Να συνεχίσουμε το πρόγραμμά μας σε εσωτερική φωνή. Ο Δόκτωρ Παναγιώτης Γαβριλίδης μαζί σας μέχρι τις 1 η ώρα. Θα σας δώσω το τηλέφωνο μου σε μια στιγμή και πάλι στο τέλος της εκπομπής. Όποιος θέλει να με συμβουλευτεί για διάφορες θεραπείες με natural medicine. Λοιπόν, μπορείτε να επικοινωνήσετε μαζί μου στο τηλέφωνο 076 189 6690. Επαναλαμβάνω, 076 189 6690. Μείνετε συντονισμένοι μαζί μας, φίλοι και φίλες. You are tuned to 1422 medium wave. This is the new Pan-Hellenic Voice. I am Dr. Gabrielides. I'll be with you till 1 o'clock. This is the second half of our program, The Inner Voice. Stay with us. Okay, I was sharing before the break with you some coping mechanisms. I'll go through two of them, and we're going to get into the third one right now. A third mechanism for coping with life, whatever problem or trouble we find ourselves in, circumstance where we might feel like being a little immobilized, a little discouraged, a little blue, distressed, etc., etc. Whatever it is, instead of being paralyzed by it, what we need to do as the third coping mechanism. The first one, okay, just to recap quickly, was to rest, take a break, take a holiday, anything from 10 minutes to a week, whatever works for you. The second one was to nourish our souls, meaning talk with a friend, listen to good music, get out in nature, do some exercise, whatever works for you, read a good book, etc. And the third one is to get back to your work, whatever it is. Even if you're a student, whatever it is. A student is to do your studies. If you're a housewife, to do your housework, etc. Everyone can find work to do, even if it's just your hobby. So you need to get back to that work, whatever that means for you. And that means throwing ourselves and our heart into it. That is the third coping mechanism that I'd like to share with you this afternoon. This, my friends, is a serious lifesaver. You see, depression will always eventually immobilize us, or even worse. We may start having suicidal thoughts. So to fight it, we have to keep moving. See, movement is life. Stagnation or standing still or paralysis will lead to death eventually. movement is life. So keep working, because that raises our self-esteem and does not allow us to get bogged down, you see? Raises our self-esteem. We keep going. There's no bogging down here. Now, of course, the last thing you'll feel like doing is getting back to work, all right, when you have a problem. Okay? I vividly recall, how paralyzed I was when that malignant black shroud enveloped me, that I was telling you about earlier. I was literally at my wit's end. Antidote? What do we do about it? I threw myself into my work. The important thing to realize here, my friends, is that you're not going to believe that this is really going to help. But I promise you, it will. It will. You see, as you keep moving, your creative juices will start flowing, and solutions will manifest themselves to you, which up to this point will have eluded you. They will not have been there because of your distress. Okay? So you will need something. Now, in the past, you would say, look, there's no way I can get that. It's too expensive. I can't afford it. No way. Yeah, whatever. 1,000 reasons of why you cannot get what you want or what you need. Now though, you will simply look around you, and sooner or later you will find what you need. Right there under your nose sometimes, and at the perfect time. You see, I much prefer this to developing ulcers as I used to in the old days. You see, work as therapy, I can't overemphasize this, my friends. I can't overemphasize the healing power of throwing ourselves into our work, of keeping moving. Work that so absorbs us that we become it. I'm sure you have. I've seen people so engrossed in their work, I'm sure you have too, that they're oblivious to their surroundings. That's the kind of situation we need to get in, you see. So, the next time you find yourself in a what's it all about mood, try these 3 coping mechanisms. 1, rest, sleep, take a holiday, take a break, do something different. Secondly, nourish your soul by meditating, praying, reading a good book, speaking to a good friend, listening to good music, getting out in nature, whatever works for you. And thirdly, throwing yourself into your work, getting back to your work, throwing your heart into it. See, I've noticed in dealing with people and in teaching people over the years that there are certain people that are very cold and heartless in a sense. And unfortunately, those people usually think that they're very nice. You know, you get the archetypal Mr. Nice Guy. And he may have a lot of disdain and silent hatred and elitism in his heart. But he ignores all that, and he goes through his people-pleasing routine as a methodology of survival and winning acceptance. And of course, he or she does it for their own acclaim, for their own benefit. They don't see how other people see right through them. So to avoid being swept up in events of our own control, we have to go to the opposite feelings than those held by the mass of the people around us, by the mass consciousness. What am I talking about? See, in a world that advocates war and vengeance and greed and elitism, meaning, we're special. This is our club, man. We are special. We're not like you guys out there. We are special. See, In such a world, one would take to sweetness and peace and acceptance of others as an act of contradicting the national consciousness, the cosmic consciousness. Now, I'm going to make an incredible statement now, my friends. And it is this. You see, to become genuinely warm is to become ever more safe. I'd like to repeat that. To become genuinely warm is to become forever safe. See, what am I saying? I'm saying we cannot be safe physically, emotionally, spiritually if we are cold. We have to become genuinely warm, and we can't fake this. We can't pretend this. In contrast now, so you can know what I'm talking about, cold, heartless people become so infested by their bitter memories and their unresolved traumas that they can't see that their dark shadow side is capturing their soul. It's done that over a long period of time. You see, this doesn't happen overnight necessarily. Also, they create listlessness, cold-hearted, cold, heartless people, and disease, and dark, paranoid concerns, and other mental problems, etc. But most of all, coldness in our hearts pulls to one the same matching nastiness that is in the collective mindset. So there's a great danger in the immediate vicinity of cold, heartless people. It makes one wonder how many human diseases are caused by these dark shadow sides, as they are really ugly and dangerous. And I wonder how much the coldness of one's heart pulls to one, in a sense, ghoulish-like life experiences that eventually make one really sick. I wonder. The good news is that to change from that cold, heartless condition, that dead condition, you walk around, you see these people, they have shark's eyes. There's just no reaction in their eyes. They're cold. To change from that is possible. You see, you just have to evaluate the level of your disdain and coldness towards humanity and animals. Watch that, how you treat the animals. And if that egocentric frozen heart is not part of your mind and your soul, then you are safe and protection will come to you. But if it is a part of your outlook, if you are up there on the pedestal looking down on the rest of us, looking down on life, then you're not safe. And you can make a point of fixing it. See, we all witnessed the statue of Saddam Hussein being pulled down with ropes in Iraq. It stood there for decades, didn't it? He thought he was safe. See? There was a coldness in that man, a maniac, a heartlessness. He erected huge statues of himself. See, looking down on the rest of us. Man, I'm fine. None of you plebs matter. I can do whatever I like, you see? Mention that as a contrast. See, that's where it leads to eventually, if you have the opportunity to become a megalomaniac like Saddam Hussein or something, or Idi Amin. Well, that's where it goes. Hitlers, the Hitlers, the Mussolinis, etc. That's where it's heading. See, it is easy to become indignant when you consider that at the evil of the world. Like, how dare these people, shall we call them that? They're not really people in the moral sense of the word. How dare they go around torturing, killing, maiming, raping, pillaging, destroying the world and its inhabitants like that? How dare they? See? They mistreat the planet, they mistreat its animals, they mistreat all of us. You know? It's all very tragic and it's all very sad, really. Yet our souls can become wet, wading through rivers of injustice that we are powerless to fix. Sometimes the weight of helplessness and futility hangs over us like a shroud, like a cloud. We lose touch with beauty, as we become blinded by silent rage that taunts us from the gates of hell, in a sense, to become as evil as the injustice we rile against. You know, we can't join them. We cannot join them, my friends. We cannot become like them, cold and heartless. So if we don't watch our minds, our souls, our feelings, one can lose sight of the authentic self, of the God force within us, and which way to go. In the end, some of us reconcile it in our hearts, and maybe this will work for you, by realizing that, yeah, while injustice is a terrible thing, no one denies that, and yet we can see an improvement in the world over recent decades as humanity becomes more and more conscious and aware of itself, and sees through the lies and hypocrisy and the propaganda that the world is swimming in. And humanity is beginning to protest at its enslavement. The internet helps a lot with that. It's opened many people's eyes that were closed before. Also, in being aware of injustice and watching it, we'll learn what it is that we don't want to become. Say, my word, now, Idi Amin, that's the last thing I want to become. I want to know how to be exactly the opposite of him. Saddam Hussein, yeah, I want to know how to be the opposite of that. So it has its use, you see, in that sense, evil in the world. The other realization is that beauty lies in surrender. In surrender, my friends. See, surrender is a feminine humility, not a masculine one. Not a masculine one. And it calls to the wounded souls from beyond the mists of time. Late at night, I often find myself crying out to the God force, saying, help me. My heart is heavy. My heart is crying. I'm at my wit's end. Don't know what to do. And sometimes the spirit of surrender, the God force, will whisper to me to wait. Just wait. And so I find I'm often a big waiter. I wait. I sit and wait for the God force to show me the next move in my personal life, in my community, what I can do, how to think, how to feel. Sometimes, even when I'm in a good mood, you don't want to know what I do when I'm in a bad mood. Some levity here on a very heavy subject, my friends. So sometimes when I'm in a good mood, I'll even breathe love into the hearts of liars and hypocrites and politicians. Yeah. And other embezzlers of human souls. And when I do that, when I breathe love into their hearts, I feel better. And I carry on waiting. See, most of the evil is yang. This means it's macho or warlike. It is masculine. And all of our so-called glorious histories, of which some of us are so proud of, I don't know why, they're but gruesome accounts of pillage, of mass murder and conquest. Instead of be proud in that. Sometimes I think that humanity is just but a sick child with a terrible bout of yang that has lasted several thousand years. It's an evolutionary phase like the antics of a rebellious teenager. There's no point in fighting it, for in the emotion of your antagonism, my friends, you abandon the very softness that offers you reconciliation and redemption. That's so important. I'd like to repeat it. There is no point in fighting the evil in the world, for in the emotion of our antagonism, we will abandon the very softness, which is the antithesis of the evil, the hardness, that offers us reconciliation and redemption. We're all changing and growing in the collective nightmare of our humanity. A golden light trickles through in the dead of night, liberating people. As fast as we will embrace a new ideal, the softness, the warmth in our hearts. So we have to be grateful for small mercies. There are many people on the spiritual path, many people, millions, that are trying their best to escape, and they're bringing others with them. So understanding that, we should be patient and surrender, for there is gentleness in that, softness. And anyway, in a long enough time frame, say 1,000,000 years from now, the yang will burn itself out, and the feminine will triumph. And as a part of that softness, it is best not to get too hung up with people's deficiencies, but rather look to their heroic redeeming qualities. Focus on their positive qualities, while of course fixing ourselves all the while. While of course fixing ourselves all the while, indeed. The softness that calls to us, my friends, from beyond the mists, to use a poetic phrase, is a very great power that we know very little about. But it has shown that it will sustain us once we start to break free. And it graciously holds us up when we begin to doubt, or when we feel a bit wobbly. We're not alone. We're not alone. This brings to mind the beautiful anonymous poem called Footsteps in the Sand. Well, this person goes through life and he always sees the footsteps of God next to him or her. And then as the person looks back on their life, they realize that at the time when the going was toughest, there was only one set of footprints. So the poet asks, well, where were you, God, when I needed you the most? And patiently, kindly, gently, and softly, God answers, my son, my daughter, there was only one set of footprints at that time because I was carrying you. Beautiful, isn't it? How often we forget who walks beside us. How often we forget we're not alone. See, the trick is not to confront the evil system while you're trying to leave it. Some of us, like myself, are a bit too brash in life. There are many instances where I wish I had kept my mouth shut. See, there is a stupidity, an ignorance in confronting the system. For that which you confront holds you invisibly by the wrist, not allowing you to get away, my friends. That which you confront, that which you fight against, holds you, its prisoner, invisibly by the wrist, by the throat, not allowing you to get away. Mother Teresa was once asked if she would march against the war in Vietnam. She said no. But, she said, if you organize a march for peace, I'll be there. See the difference? She was not going to join a march against the war in Vietnam because she knew that if she fought the war in Vietnam, she would become its slave. She would be held invisibly by the wrist as its prisoner. So the difference is we don't march against wars. No, we march for peace. So we're not against anything. We're for its opposite. We're not for hate. We're for love. We're not for war. We're for peace. See the difference? Eventually, when we learn this lesson of softness, my friends, and put down the cudgel of our indignation and embrace the feminine spirit, the humility of her world will gradually build the bridge for us, and we will see the way out. Respite is there for every weary soul, blessed as they all should be. Surrender is what it's all about, my friends. Emotionally. Surrender. It takes a while for most of us, but eventually we get the message, and for that we're grateful. Well, we've come to the end of the road for today as well, my friends. Tune in again next Monday at high noon, 12 o'clock, right here on 1422 medium wave of the new Pan-Hellenic Voice. Remember, I do consult as a natural medicine practitioner. Those of you who do wish to consult me, pen and paper, quick. My telephone number is 076 189 6690. I repeat, 076 189 6690. CDs of this program and past programs are available from me. Contact me if you're interested. Also, if you have a group that you would like me to give a talk to, contact me. I'll be happy to oblige, and I do those talks for free. Alright, my friends, don't forget my program tomorrow night on holistic health between 7 to 8 p.m. right here on 1422 medium wave of the new Pan-Hellenic Voice. Till next time, take care and keep smiling. From me, Dr. Gabrielides, I bid thee adieu. Λοιπόν, κυρίες και κύριοι, φτάσαμε στο τέλος της εκπομπής μας και για σήμερα. Θα είμαι και πάλι μαζί σας την επόμενη Δευτέρα από τις 12 το μεσημέρι μέχρι τις 1 η ώρα το απόγευμα στα 14-22 μεσαία κύματα της νέας Πανελλήνιας Φωνής. Όσοι από εσάς θέλετε να με συμβουλευτείτε για διάφορες θεραπείες με natural medicine, μπορείτε να επικοινωνήσετε μαζί μας στο τηλέφωνο 076 189 6690. Επαναλαμβάνω, 076 189 6690. Επίσης μπορώ να σας προμηθεύσω CDs αυτού του προγράμματος και όλων των προηγουμένων προγράμματών μου. Όπως επίσης δίνω διαλέξεις στην αγγλική. Εάν έχετε ένα group που ενδιαφέρεται για μια τέτοια διάλεξη, μη διστάσετε να επικοινωνήσετε μαζί μου. Οι διαλέξεις μου είναι εντελώς δωρεάν. Αυτά λοιπόν, αγαπητοί μου ακροατές, φίλοι και φίλες. Μην ξεχάσετε το πρόγραμμά μου αύριο βράδυ για Holistic Health. Από μένα, τον Δόκτωρα Παναγιώτη Γαβριλίδη. Καλό σας απόγευμα, καλή σας μέρα, καλή σας εβδομάδα. Γεια χαρά.